Thank you. Everyone be seated and please silence your cell phones if you have them, which everybody does. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Webster?
Here.
Is Commissioner Holzhausen excused?
He is.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Garber?
Here.
Commissioner Howard?
Here.
Commissioner Emery?
Here.
Chairman Broder?
Here. All right. I will need a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved.
Support.
I've got a motion with support. Any comment or changes to today's agenda? All in favor of approving today's agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the agenda is approved. This is the first call for public comment. I see no slips up here. Would anyone like to address this board? Seeing no one coming forward, we will move on to committee motions and reports. Commissioner Garber, would you get us started?
Yes, thank you. I would make a motion to adopt the proposed pay scale changes, Deputy Public Defenders to grade 12, Chief Public Defender to grade 13, and Public Defender to $112,000.
Support.
I've got a motion of support. Discussion on that item.
So just a couple of things. We had talked about this on Monday. This is money from the state funding. It's not money from the general fund. And it relates to rule number 8 that is being proposed by the public defenders and their law. You did ask that I calculate what it would cost to do the same thing with the prosecutor's office. So in front of you is what it would cost to do it for the APAs. Now those are the assistant prosecutors. The chief assistant prosecutor, the CAPA, chief assistant prosecutor, is already at the 13. Prosecutor Kerner is already at the 112. So it would only affect those individuals listed there, which are 5 of them. There is one open position currently that has not been filled, that is not listed on there, but that would be somewhere around an additional 15. So with these individuals on here, it would cost $64,000 to do the same thing, but that is general fund money.
And sorry, go ahead.
So what level are the current APAs at? Are they at 12?
They're at 11.
Okay.
That's the difference. So right now
So
they're at
we move
11.
all of them to 12.
That's what we're talking about here is right now all of the attorneys that are not in a particular leadership position are 11s all across the county. And I guess just those 2 offices in particular. But then with the extra funding available and the suggested change from the state, we would be moving the public defenders to a 12 to be more in line, even though we're still not completely in line with standard 8.
And you said that Tepper's already at 13.
That is correct.
Okay.
So the last couple of CAPAs have all been at the same level as Doug and myself and Larry.
Okay.
And Mike Karen.
Commissioner Garber.
Yes, I did watch your State of the County address last night. And
I'm sorry.
yeah, 18 minutes of my life. In light of the fiscal position we find ourselves in, I would be very hesitant to expend another $65,000 in general fund money. As well-meaning and well-intentioned as it might be, I did take your comments to heart.
I tend to agree with you. I look at this, we always have these wage push things. You've talked about it a lot, and we've talked about it. The fact that when we raise wages in one area, then other people expect the same, and I understand that because they sort of see their jobs as mostly the same thing, even though no jobs are exactly the same. We're looking at 20% increase, that's a big increase, and I'm sort of sorry, not exactly sorry, that it's nice that a portion of our employees are getting kind of a state subsidy, that we're not paying the increase. It's hard to turn down free money for our employees. Now it does create some hard feelings with other employees who say, how come I didn't get any free money? Well, that's because that's what the state did. I can't see, because if we raise this, I guarantee there will be a cascade in other areas where they want more money, it's not as if the people in the prosecutor's office are being damaged by people in the public defenders. It's just a matter of visuals, and I understand what the judge said the other day on this. I just don't think at this time, again, especially with what I said the other day on our state of the county, I don't think that spending this money and then whatever other monies come in, because we spend this money, then we band-aid the hurt feelings on this, but then the next group will also say, well, what about us? At some, do we raise everybody's pay in the county because of this state request? I just can't see it.
Well, personally, I will say this. I do know that if you look at the economic distribution of Shiawassee County and around Shiawassee County, we're kind of in a donut hole. You know, the areas around us have had more growth and more development and pay more. As a result, they also have more tax base to draw from for their salaries. Personally, I believe that almost all of our county employees are underpaid by at least 20%. We've had an economic decline in the community overall of about 11% of income based on the State of the State survey data. We're the only county that has had a negative impact on annual income throughout the entirety of the state when they calculated it. And that negative impact has an effect on property values and everything else. They all are tied together. That being said, the budget is finite. And because it's finite, if you give here, you have to deduct somewhere else. So those are just some comments for thought about the entirety of the discussion. The one is paid for, the other one is not. But I do think that wages are low, and it shows. I mean, I believe Prosecutor Kerner has had a position open for about a year and has been unable to fill it. And his staff is highly worked because of all of the other cases and other things. It would be nice to be able to move everyone.
And approximately a year ago, we did face, the prosecutor told us, here's the reality. We can't get people. We have to raise pay and we handle it. Now we're back in this again. It did help. Of course it helped. More money helps. A little note on what you said, however, I think we're of a mind at this. On this, the only long-term fix to this problem is development in our county. We're taking good steps on that, but for right now, until that development comes, we're just going to have to figure this out, and it's not going to be easy. Other comments on this?
Yeah, I would be the first person to support public defense and defendants, probably on this board. But I am troubled by a couple of things. One, of having attorneys who have, all of them have paid for education to be on different steps when they have very similar roles, just on the opposite sides of the bar, I guess. And the prosecutor's office having a lower salary than the public defender's office just seems like it doesn't speak well to law and order. How do you effectively prosecute crimes if your attorneys are incentivized to go to the public defender's office?
Well, I would go back to something that Commissioner Emery said the other day that resonated with me in one of the court rules in particular, but the idea that the only one at one point in time as a JAG officer had to be, the only one that had to be an attorney was for the defense, because for the defense it is a depriving moment of liberty.
And sort of a related note, and I'm not disagreeing with you, as our perennial issue of solar farms comes up, and I talk to people in various townships, I tell them the root of this problem isn't here. The root of this problem is in Lansing and is in Washington, who are passing all of these laws and subsidies that are pushing solar farms into our community. It's just, that's the reality. This is another one of those, the old joke about, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. Run in the other direction. They cause, there's always this law of unintended consequences. Good intention, but now they've handed us these problems, and we just, Problem started there, not here. We just have to decide how to handle it. There's no good answer here.
Do you want to hear from me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think you're right. You spoke to the reality of the economic problems of the state. And I just want the board to know that this is not about sour grapes for me. But now not only are we competing with the surrounding counties, but now I'm competing with the public defenders. When they're considering Shiawassee County, if they're looking at $15,000 to $20,000 more, students with these big debts, where do you think they're going to go? Not to the lower paying job.
And in the long run, in the years to come, we may be right back here, and you're telling us, I now have 2 empty spots, I have almost 3 empty spots. That's what happened about a year ago. You just said, here's the reality. Wage studies or anything else, this is the market. We can't, you know, if one of our trucks needs an oil change, we can't tell the oil change place, we can only afford $10 for an oil change. Well, you're not gonna get one then. So I understand the difficulty, all of our departments are facing it, and that's all I can really say. I understand the difficulty.
And I understand, and I just want to, I think I agree with Judge Clarkson that there should be some equal footing. I mean, it seems, I mean, I don't think, from what you're saying, there's nothing you can do about it, but I just want to make that known that that's my position, and it's gonna be even more difficult. And it's not just countywide,
And we were there until the state swooped in to help us.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you, Lansing.
That's what I was gonna say, is the alternate is you reject the state's money and they pull all of their funding.
We talked about, even if we could reject the state's money and not get our funding pulled, when the state's willing to give some of our employees, in effect, free money, do we turn that down? How do you tell it? Yes, we could have, somebody else would pay you more, but we don't want it. No, I couldn't do that. Yeah, just that wouldn't make any sense to just turn down. The money came, it came with strings.
You know, we're kind of faced with a legal structure for our legal pay that I think the state is going in a certain direction, throws their weight that way. We have the local responsibility to fund the prosecutors, and the state is now getting in, as you say, with the state programs. And but the obvious thing that's going to happen once the state gets involved, you're going to get these standards like the Rule 8, and that is the ideal situation that they're going to want. So yeah, it puts us in a difficult situation. Ideally, we would, I suppose, have equal pay over both offices, but it just, I don't know how you work that under the system that we're in right now. And, I do think there's something to be, having practiced nearly 50 years now, but money isn't always the determining factor on the quality of work that you see in the courtroom. And there are a lot of variables in any occupation, but in lawyers, you see variables that it isn't necessarily all in the pay. And so it's different.
I think you start down a slippery slope of where you stop in the name of fairness. How come every attorney's not paid the same amount? How come we don't pay the same amount as Ingham County or Wayne or Macomb? At some point you have to say, okay, this is what we can afford. That's the situation we're in. There are benefits to working here, you know, a rural community, a smaller community, some of that, but eventually you have to say, okay, this is where we're at. That's as much as we can pay. Not everything will be fair in terms of the way someone's paid.
Most things when it comes to budget have nothing to do with right and wrong. It comes to trade-offs.
Yep.
You try to make the best choice that you can, good and bad.
One thing I would suggest is that in the coming months, you will have an audit, and your audit potentially, at that point, you may wish to revisit this if you find that you've added to the fund balance again. But again, that answers a issue and a problem for this year. It doesn't talk about what it creates for 2023, or 2024.
And for practical reasons, we might have to. If Scott can't fill the ranks with prosecutors, we'll have no choice. We will have to find the money and pay more.
We're hoping to add to the fund balance after the audit, but
I like that. Rough waters ahead the next few years economically. Other discussion? All in favor of moving this on to tomorrow, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that moves on to tomorrow.
Thank you. I move to approve the replacement of the Deputy Finance Director at a grade 11.
Support.
Moving with support. Discussion on that item?
needed position.
Yes, it's just a replacement. All in favor of moving that on to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We move that on.
I move that we approve the match of $15,000 for CACS Financial Literacy Program to accompany a $50,000 grant from the Cook Family Foundation.
Support.
I will move with support. Discussion on that item?
Yes.
Please.
As I mentioned, in committee, I had thought the scope was a little smaller, so I did go into my email and find that email that I forwarded to Greg and Dr. Boggs. Commissioner Garber, the Cook Family Foundation has been approached by Capital Area Community Services to fund a financial literacy program for Shiawassee County residents facing or recovering from home foreclosure. So, and my response was that I was all in favor of it, but thought the scope was too limited. I did meet with Tom Cook, and then Dr. Boggs did call him today, and there is some question. So as to, is it tax foreclosure, home foreclosure? So at this point, we really don't know who this applies to.
You think we might know by tomorrow?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
May I? Your
Please.
packet from, in your packet, the scope of their objectives and their statements. Yes, foreclosure is often a component of it, but not necessarily the only factor. Is that? It's often a component, but it's financial literacy program to help people improve their credit scores. Maybe they don't have a car that can get them to their work, and they can't get that loan because they haven't done their income tax for 5 years. And those are things that I even learn on the phone with a homeowner. So it's not necessarily just their property taxes. It's a whole wide range of issues that these people deal with, don't know how to get themselves out of. So they have the Case Credit Union, other credit unions willing to work with these individuals. They have attorneys, or I'm sorry, I don't have the name of the group. It's in your packet. To help, maybe they need to get the deeds squared away. Maybe they need to get other items in order. So it's not just foreclosure, but foreclosure is often.
Unlike our last discussion, this one is a disagreement over a matter of fact rather than opinion, which should be very easily cleared up by the grantors of this probably tomorrow. We'll probably know tomorrow for a fact.
Well, yeah,
I don't think it's going to have a huge effect.
It's written out here.
I'm sorry.
So bullet number 1, financial counseling and goal setting, credit repair, debt reduction, banking /saving, establishment of property tax payment plan, CACS staff advocate with county treasurer as needed, establishment of low interest loans through partnering credit union to avoid utilization of payday loans. CACS staff provides a referral base on established parameters, review of property-related legal issues, deeds, taxes, etc., by or with LSSCM, and linkages to other
target area and target population. So the target area being served, city, county, low-income youth, those experiencing homelessness, etc. But then it says, target area, Shiawassee County, and the target population, homeowners with low incomes facing property tax foreclosure, especially those at risk of falling victim to a predatory lending and/or those needing legal assistance to navigate the process. So this does say property tax, homeowners facing property tax foreclosure. They offer all these other services.
But it's only to those who are facing tax foreclosure.
Is that the mandatory target or is that a suggested target?
That's
That's, it
It's a
seems a little,
suggested, they're just
it
trying to
seems a
keep
little
people in
slippery
their
on there.
homes.
So, we seem to still need clarification. We see the services they can provide, but there probably aren't a lot of low-income youth who are having tax foreclosure problems. So, I think we'll have that, maybe have some information to clear that up
We
by
can
tomorrow.
talk to Miguel, and again, while this is probably a very worthwhile program, is that our job as a county government, county commissioners? I mean, I would say, should we offer a marriage counseling too? Where do you stop?
Just to pick up on Commissioner Garber's point, is this a job for the treasurer to get involved with? It sounds like a worthwhile program that our educational system ought to be addressing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I guess my concern is, how does this involve what the treasurer is doing day to day to collect the taxes and the revenue? And I mean, I could understand if you were going to have a course to help people understand the property tax foreclosure process, but this seems to go well beyond that.
Yes, but our treasurer is an elected person in her own right, and if she feels that she can run her office in addition to this program, we would have no authority to tell her she must run this, but the fact that she's willing to run this, I think is admirable.
Well, it's really nothing that I run. I would refer homeowners to CACS, and they handle all of the sessions with the individuals. And the whole idea is to give them that financial literacy so that they become good functioning citizens in the community and are contributing instead of.
Even that will take some of the time
Instead
in
of
your
losing
office
their
and a
homes.
certain amount of organization.
Well, it is.
Which is-
I'm happy to speak with any individual who calls my office and happy to help them in any way I can. But the bulk of that work really comes through Capital Area Community Services and their sessions. All due respect to Tom, I know Tom very well, Cindy, but he doesn't, and they have been approached and obviously are giving to, and I appreciate their working with CACS, but I would ask for information from CACS. So Miguel or Jessica Dexter, Jim Crane, somebody on the CACS board. Tom is not on the CACS board and is just
I am.
learning more about the program himself.
And to Commissioner Garber, your point, you know I totally agree with, I don't like expand the scope of government, and yet when we're getting better than a 3-to-1 multiplier effect, it's kind of hard to turn it down. Something that could even, it's $15,000.
Oh, I'm not opposed to it, I just think we should be a little more clear, because when some other program comes up, we're gonna want the same clarity. But I would also mention that this county, for many years, has relied heavily on the delinquent tax fund. So, our delinquent taxpayers, I'm not sure we wanna get rid of all of them.
But
That's,
we get more money from paid taxes, right?
no, we get more money from delinquent taxes.
I would hardly see that as a motivation, hoping
Yes.
people will go delinquent so we can make more money from them. I would not.
I'm just saying,
You know,
that's,
I mean, that's like, let's plant trees in front of the speed limit sign so we can get more speeding. I'd kind of be against that, even though it would work.
I did not invent the
Possibly get more
system.
money from delinquent taxes than from taxes.
because we get fines, penalties, and interest. That's where the delinquent tax fund
I
has
get
come
that,
from.
but the number of people who are delinquent cannot outweigh the number of people,
The taxpayers.
taxpayers.
Oh,
Yeah.
they don't by far. We look at what, 25 foreclosures maybe per year.
So, yeah, I'm just confused about how that could generate more money, but.
So I think if we can clarify who the target population is. we need
And
to
what target
And what
actually
target,
mean, now
yes.
maybe,
Just clarify that whole portion of who can
I'm
be
not
served
familiar
by
enough
this.
with this type of grant to know
I
whether
see
target
what
means
you're
mandatory
Okay.
or suggested.
Clarifying for anyone.
Honestly, I'd be more likely to support it if it was just for property taxes, because that has a direct benefit to the county. Where if it's for any other low income thing, I mean, we may not necessarily generate revenue from that. But if people are, you know, have assistance in paying their property taxes, that is a definite revenue generation for us.
Hmm.
Certainly, we're gonna get more than $15,000 worth of value.
And this program isn't necessarily paying their taxes, it's
Right.
guiding them
Right.
to budget, to learn to
Right.
budget, to guiding them to learn to figure out their priorities and where their monies do go, or helping them get that car so they can get to work, so they can pay their taxes, even if they're a little late and we get some interest on them, but eventually they can pay them and not be foreclosed on. So it encompasses a lot.
I don't question the constitutional independence of the treasurer, but my concern is how much effort, and we do have oversight of the money facet of it, how much activity is the treasurer gonna become involved in? What's the impact on her operations, with this program? Or, I mean, maybe it's a program where you can just say, if you got people that are heading toward delinquency, that you can just send them out and talk to those people. Hopefully they'll resolve it, but it's not putting a greater demand on your, required services.
And that is
That's
how
my
it works, Tom. I'll refer somebody to CACS, and they might email me and say, hey, Julie, can you give me their tax update? Can you know, so I pull up a report in 2 seconds, email it off, and I'm done. It's not real time consuming as far as if you're worried about me spending hours and hours on it. I am happy to spend whatever time a person needs on the phone. I hear lots of stories, and I will sit there and listen to them. But it is the bulk of the work of this program is handled through CACS and through their sessions and their time with them.
I would say one of the, so the delinquent tax fund has about 12 million in it currently, is that correct, Tracy?
No, it's down, I think closer to 11.
Closer to 11, okay. We're hurt more by low interest rates than we are not getting the taxes and penalties. Because that money receives interest, we use that for our cash on hand. I mean, I think that in a perfect world, we would be living off the interest of that for other things, as opposed to wanting to increase it through tax and penalties, or through penalties.
So, Dr. Boggs, and maybe Tracy or Julie, so of the properties that the taxes don't get paid, they go into tax foreclosure if they're not granted an extension. So at that time, then the property's sold, right? I mean, that's the idea, sheriff's sale, and then the taxes are paid, correct, or no?
In a way, well, let me put it like this. We are like the casino, or the house. We always get our money.
Right.
It just may not be right away. And
Right.
so depending on when they are finally sold, we do get the money. But now, because of, what's the name of that case? Raffaelli, we used to be able to take, and this is how counties made a lot more money, is you got to keep the excess proceeds from a tax sale. Now we can only keep what is owed to us. And that's where you get some extra things with the back taxes and penalties and things like that you assess. But if you sell it, say it's only owed $10,000 and you sell it for 25, 15 of it goes back to the owner of the property when it went into default. That's since Raffaelli. Before that, the county got to keep all of it. So it's a new and different process. But eventually, the county always does get its money.
Right, that was my understanding.
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor of moving that item forward to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, I suspect we'll have more discussion on that tomorrow.
I move that we approve the purchase of a new furnace for district court not to exceed $6,500.
Support.
Got a motion with support, discussion on that item? All in favor of moving, I'm sorry.
They need heat.
Well, why do they get heat?
There you go.
You said that yesterday.
We don't need no stinking heat. All in favor of moving that forward to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that moves forward tomorrow.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Nicely done.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes, I move to approve the proposal from AKT Peerless to support with the Brownfield Redevelopment Board in an amount not to exceed $16,400.
Support.
I have a motion with support. Dr. Boggs, did you want to say a couple words on that?
This is our next step in helping rejuvenate that economic development we talked about. Part one was the land bank that the treasurer has established, and now part two is to create the tax capture mechanism so that we can increase our development, and this is the assistance we need to do that.
This is an excellent investment, and it actually, I suppose, isn't really even investment, it's more of a loan. Hopefully the brownfield will be as successful as the land bank, because the land bank's going to be able to pay the county back very soon, and the brownfield hopefully will do the same. So will make us whole eventually and get us some good development in the future. I'm pretty confident about that. Other comments? All in favor of moving this forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that item moves forward. Commissioner Webster.
Item A, I move to approve the refilling of a road patrol deputy position due to retirement.
Support.
Moving with support. Discussion on that one? All in
Budgeted
favor?
position. The budgeted position,
Yeah.
and replacing it.
All in favor of moving that forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That moves forward.
Item B, I move to confirm the board chair's appointment of Mayor Rob Teich to the County 911 Board.
Support.
Moving with support. As I understand, that's traditionally simply being filled where the old mayor was, now the new mayor's.
It's a city seat, it's gone back and forth a lot between Durand and Owasso, and now former Mayor Owasso was on it before.
Okay. All in favor of moving that forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Moves forward. Back to you, Commissioner Garber.
All right, I move that we approve the refilling of a public health nurse at a grade 9.
Support.
Moving with support. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we move forward on that one. All right, at this time, I just had a couple of comments. If I may, I wanted to let you know that we have about, I think we have 15 applicants for our coordinator position. Dr. Boggs and I are going to meet with Frank probably at the end of this week to figure out what the process is going to be for reviewing those and what the process is going to be for any of the commissioners who would like to view all of those applications. Then that way you can, we'll probably come up with a recommendation like last time of which wants to interview. Anybody who wants to then can weigh in on that process of who we should interview. That won't be a problem. When that decision is made, we will schedule a a special meeting to review the applications in a closed session and move on from there. So we're moving ahead with this. I'm kind of, to side note, I'm sort of pleased that this is taking a little while because fortunately it's not an emergency. Dr. Boggs is still with us, and with us coming very close to that move from the courthouse, since he has been so involved in it. I would just hate for him to sneak out the county out of this job before we get that done. That perfectly smooth and entirely easy operation
Oh, yeah.
he will be part of. So, and I don't know if there are any questions on that. Just in case any of you didn't know, you probably all do. I tried an experiment this week. I recorded a state of the county address and posted it to our website. It's out there for anyone who's interested, or has trouble sleeping. Let's see, oh, I got a call from Lennon today. People in Lennon, they have, on that demolition we're gonna do through the land bank, they have, passed their legal hurdles. Their attorney said to me, everything they asked the judge for, they got. So, we're good on that. There won't be any more questions on what we can do and can't do out there, and we're gonna be able to tear down the blight in Lennon. So, I told them they should talk to Justin Horvath, who's our point person on this, to make sure all the steps are taken in the order they're taken, and there shouldn't be a problem. Reminder, everybody come in your Sunday, go to meeting clothes tomorrow, because we're doing our picture for up on the wall, and then we won't have to do another one for a couple of years, I promise. Let's see, the vets building, we went over to the vets building to see the progress recently. I'm very pleased with that. I don't know who else has been over there. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be terrific. And Cindy and I were at the vets meeting today, and they're talking about new services they're gonna offer, a lot of options, a lot of good stuff going on there. I also happened to, just out of curiosity, tour the Simplicity building that we're helping tear down. Wow, you could film a horror movie in there. They got 5 feet of water in the basement. It's raining, and oh, it's nasty. Just really needs a bulldozer. We've got some open appointments we're going to have to make on into health and wellness. I don't think we have any other boards open right now, do we? I think that's the only one right now.
Is that the only one, Morgan?
There's a few other ones.
You know what they are off the top of your head?
Oh, Morgan's over there.
I am over here. There's quite a few, there's like vacancies on solid waste. There's a couple other boards, they're all on the website though.
Oh, okay.
So check the website, we need appointees.
There you go. That's all that I wanted to mention. Dr. Bowles?
Just a couple of quick things. So after we talked with Frank, look for an email from Morgan or from myself asking about dates for special meetings. I do know that we're getting into Lent, so I think next Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. So we'll be planning around that, and then we'll have a meeting like we did before where you guys will talk about applicants. Then together you guys can schedule another meeting for winter and actually do the interviews. The audit is beginning. We're working on it. They're going to be here on site in April, late April. And it's imperative that they're here then to get it done, so that's on your May board agenda, so that we get the preliminary audit approved. We've been on time now for several years, and we do not want to jeopardize that. We want to make sure that it is done and on time, so Tracy and myself will be working on that. After you approve the replacing of the finance director, we're going to be moving to do some interviews in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be talking to a couple of you about sitting in on the interviews so that you can garner your opinion of it. And then, as Greg mentioned, we're in pre-construction mode, so we're a month away from people starting to move, things starting to change of where offices are located. We'll be releasing a lot of information and documentation, and by April 1, which I think is a Saturday, but that following Monday, April 3rd, all departments will have moved where they're located that are in the historic courthouse, and they will be in there working. So we're less than a month away of starting to move some individuals where Tim is working on the Griffin home. We are working with the hospital, Memorial Healthcare, setting up the courts over there. We have some files we're taking care of in the attic, and so it's the next month is going to be a very busy time of preparing all of that.
Thank you.
All I have.
This time we have our second option for the public to address this board. Is there anyone who would like to do so? Not seeing anyone coming forward. This meeting is adjourned.